Mystery of Room 1046. On January 2, 1935, a man calling himself Roland T. Owen checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri. A few days later, Owen, later identified as an Alabama man who had dreams of being a professional wrestler, was dead. Who killed him and why remains mystery to this day. The Hotel President. The story started on the second day of 1935, when a man going by the name Roland Owen checked into room 1046 of the Hotel President in Kansas City. The man told hotel staff he was from Los Angeles and was relocating after becoming upset over the price he was charged at a neighboring hotel. He brought with him few belongings, a hairbrush, a comb, and toothpaste, and no luggage. When interviewed later, hotel employees said they estimated the man was between 20 to 25 years old, while others thought he was as old as 35. All agreed he had a large scar on his face and a cauliflower ear, a common condition with wrestlers and boxes. Hotel staff said Owen was a strange guest. He kept his room dark almost all the time and seemed nervous when hotel staff came into the room. A day after he arrived at the hotel, a maid said she was cleaning his room when he answered the phone and was overheard saying, "No, Don, I don't want to eat." The maid later reported she heard the male voices inside the room. When asked, one of the men said they didn't need fresh towels, though she knew the room hadn't been serviced. Locked room. Another maid said she came to clean the room and, finding it locked, used a passkey to enter. She found the occupant sitting in the dark. The room had been locked from the outside and Owen had no key, he said. He didn't offer an explanation as to who could have locked him inside the room. A strange encounter. On January 3, 1935, a Kansas City Water Department employee named Robert Lane was driving home when he was flagged down by a man running down the street. The night was cold, but the man had no coat and wore only an undershirt. Lane noticed a scratch on the man's arm, and when asked, the passenger replied he'd kill the person who did it. Lane took the man to a taxi but never got his name. It was only after the photos of the unknown murder victim were printed in the newspaper that he came forward to say he'd given the man a ride. Off the hook. The next day, a hotel operator noticed the phone in Owen's room 1046, was off the hook. A bellboy was sent to the room and discovered its occupant lying naked on the bed. Assuming the man they knew as Owen was drunk, the bellboy replaced the phone's receiver on its stand and left the room. A few hours later, the phone was off the hook again and the same bellboy went up to the room again. This time, he turned on the light and saw a bloody Owen, barely alive. Clues in the room. Emergency personnel arrived at the scene and found Owen had been bound at the neck, wrists, and ankles and appeared to have been tortured. He had a fractured skull and had been stabbed. Doctors on the scene concluded the injuries were 6 to 7 hours old. All the clothes in the room were gone and the only clues were an unlit cigarette and for fingerprints that were thought to have come from a woman. Do you recognize this man? Owen was semi-conscious and told authorities he'd hit his head against a bathtub. He was taken to the hospital where he slipped into a coma and died later that night. Police began trying to identify if the man calling himself Roland Owen was really who he said he was. His photo was published in area newspapers with the heading, "Do you recognize this man?" and the body was put on display at the funeral home. Flowers from Louise. Owen was set to be buried in a potter's field when an anonymous donor sent money for his funeral. He was laid to rest under the name Roland T. Owen with a bouquet of roses from someone named Louise on his grave. Anonymous caller. The flowers were ordered by an anonymous caller who said they wanted 13 American Beauty roses sent to Roland Owen's funeral. "I'm doing this for my sister. I'll send you a $5 bill. Special delivery," the caller said. Photo in the newspaper. A year after the death, a woman named Ruby Ogletree saw a magazine article about the murder. She immediately recognized the man in the photo as her son, Artemis Ogletree. He was identified by the scar in the scalp above his ear, which his mother said was the result of a childhood accident when he was burned by some hot grease. Mystery of the letters. Artemis was only 17 when he left Birmingham in April 1934 and disappeared. Ruby Ogletree contacted police, and it was confirmed the man known as Roland Owen was actually the missing Alabama teenager. Ruby Ogletree said she'd had no contact with her son since he disappeared except for 3 letters, including one that claimed he was in Egypt. The timing of some of the letters would have meant they were written after Artemis Ogletree's death. Investigation. The question now was, who killed Ogletree? The theories ranged from a gambling debt dispute to a slaying by a relative of a spurned lover, maybe Louise. The man named on whom he was overheard speaking with on the phone. Who sent the letters? Mystery resurfaces in 2003. In 2003, someone got in touch with Kansas City Public Librarian John Horner with what they said was information about Ogletree's death. The caller didn't identify himself but said they were going through boxes of a deceased person when they found old newspaper clippings of the Ogletree murder. The person also reported there was something in the box mentioned by the newspaper that tied the late owner to the murder. The caller wouldn't say what that something was, and the mystery remained. Mystery of Room 1046. The mystery of Room 1046 continues to captivate people who are trying to solve the crime.